I'm happy to discover that someone thinks that I found the perfect end sentence. Um, for me, stories always go on. It's just a matter of abandoning them. So that's just where I happen to step out of the frame. Well, that's quite easy. They're members of the KKK, um, so they are necessarily objects of ridicule. As for their appearing cartoonish and shall we say, stupid, I was only trying to be historically accurate. I certainly wish that I could make uh, a story up as I go along, but I can't do that. So I don't use outlines. I make for myself what might be called a map. I have a general idea of where I'm going. But as anyone who does any exploring knows, a map is merely an excuse to get lost. Um, my destination can change. The places I decide to stop may well change. But I do have a general idea of how I like to proceed. Well, it's certainly not the case that it portrays all of rural Southern or white America, um, but it certainly is true of some Americans as extant beings. So um, one need only look at the current hearings about the January 6th riots on the Capitol building in Washington to understand that um, this sort of regressive, almost antebellum Civil War thinking still exists. Well, it's very nice to hear that I might have mastered one or a couple of genres. I it's not my aim to do that. I try to employ what's going to work for the story I'm trying to tell. Um, since all of the genre, literary fiction, perhaps more than anything else, are constantly evolving, I don't think it's possible to master any of them. Uh, to master one would be to stagnate. So though I'm certainly envious of anyone who's mastered stagnation, I, uh, I try to keep in mind that I really don't know what I'm doing. Well, there are any number of we're just talking about satire generally. I think that those are my influences as a reader, from Kurt Vonnegut to Stern, you know, even Rape of the Lock. Pope's Rape of the Lock is satirical. It's an attempt to combine uh, uh, different forms um, in a way that not simply parodies them, but uses them as a platform to make some meaning. Um, um, I grew up reading Anthony Burgess, and Orwell, and irony and now satire is not a great word. I'm not crazy about the idea of being a satirist, but certainly irony is a huge feature of how I see the world, and therefore a big feature of my art. Damon Thruft wrote with a number 3 pencil sharpened with his Phi Beta Kappa penknife again and again. He scratched out names on a yellow legal pad. He scratched and scratched. Bill Gilmer, Shedrick Thompson, Ed Lang, John Henry James, Charles Wright, Henry Scott, Arthur Young, George Dorsey, May Dorsey, Dorothy Malcolm, Eugene Hamilton, Paul Booker, James Jordan, W. W. Watt, Lemuel Walters, George Holden, Will Wilkins, John Ruffin, Henry Ruffin, Elijah Woods, Anderson Goss, Huey Connerly, Dago Pete, Laura Nelson, William Fambrough, Isidore Banks, unknown male. Tony Champion, Michael Kelly, Andrew Ford, Henry Henson, unknown male. Charles Willis, William Rawls, Alfred Daniels, Manny Price, Robert Scruggs, Jumbo Clark, Jack Long, Henry White, unknown male. Reverend Josh Baskins, Burt Dennis, Andrew McHenry, Stella Young, Abraham Wilson, George Buddington, Albert Martin, unknown male, unknown female. Richard Puryear, John Campbell, John Taylor, Ernest Green, Charles Lang, Ed Johnson, Andrew Clark, Alma Major, Maggie House, Nevlin Porter, Johnson Spencer, James Clark, Levi Harrington, John Minho, Albert Williams, Will Brown, Wyatt Outlaw, John Stevens, Perry McChristian, Felix Williams, unknown male. Bartley James, John Campbell, Eugene Williams, Robert Robertson, James Cheney, James Jordan, George Armwood, Sidney Randolph, George Taylor, James Carter, Emmett Divers, Smiles Estes, Dick Lundy, Jenny Steers, unknown male, 16 adult men. John Peterson, Frank Morris, James Burr Jr., Albert Young, Zachariah Walter, Tom Moss, unknown male, Calvin McDowell, Elias Clayton, Elmer Jackson, Isaac McGee, Will Stewart, John Holmes, Amos Miller, Giovanni Cerami, Francesco Di Fata, Miles Pfeiffer, Will Temple, Robert Crosby, David Jones, Nelson Patton, David Walker. And here I stop because I received a letter from someone in Tennessee who informed me that the next person on this list, as I have written, because this is the information I had, is David Walker's wife. It's important to note that David Walker's wife, as I just learned, was named Annie. So David Walker, Annie Walker, David and Annie Walker's 4 children. Raymond Gunn, Henry Lowry, Sam Hose. Well, the fuzz is gone, Mama Z said as she entered the records room. She observed the open dossiers and Thruff's disheveled appearance. Damon looked up. The FBI lady, Mama Z said. She studied Damon's red eyes and then the pages in front of him again. What are you doing? I'm writing their names by hand. Damon sharpened his pencil over a sheet of white paper. Mama Z pulled the pad toward her and looked at the list. Why are you doing this? She asked. When I write the names, they become real, not just statistics. When I write the names, they become real again. It's almost like they get a few more seconds here. Do you know what I mean? I would never have been able to make up so many names. The names have to be real. They have to be real, don't they? Mama Z put her hand against the side of Damon's face. Why pencil? When I'm done, I'm going to erase every name and set them free. Carry on, child, the old woman said. Then the names of the lynching victims continues.